further about the post endorsement things, about the two contact point meetings. Obviously, it's a requirement for the home office as well that an individual should have a two follow-up contact points meeting with the endorsing bodies. So, what is that the individuals can expect in these contact point meetings, and what are the intervals of these meetings? Is it every 6 months, 12 months, or what?
There are two mandatory checkpoint review meetings, one at the 12-month point on the anniversary of the visa receipt. So exactly 12 months after your visa date, you would have to attend a 12-month checkpoint review, and then a further one at the 24-month point. What we look at is simply they are to check progress. So this is where it's really important, going back to your business plan. And this is another key area where people sort of misunderstand things. So if you're writing a business plan to try and impress someone on the other end by saying, we're going to have £1 million revenue after year one, that you may think that will help you to get an endorsement, and it may do if we think that's credible. The other edge of that particular sword, which is a very sharp edge, is that when you come to the 12-month checkpoint, we'll say, okay, how's it going towards your £1 million sales revenue after year one?
Exactly, yeah.
And if it's zero, you might have a bit of a problem. So I guess what I'm saying there is, when you're writing your business plan in the first place, be realistic. Don't be overly optimistic, and don't be overly cautious. Make sure it's something that you can deliver. Because I can tell you, in 95% of cases, you will always be behind where you thought you'd be.
No, okay.
With any business. I've seen thousands of business plans, and there are very, very few that will get to where they forecasted they would be.
So I have a question over here. Like, let's suppose there is a follow-up meeting, contact point meeting with the candidate, and in that meeting, it is assessed that the business is not performing as it was stated in the endorsement application. So at that point, what is the next course of action? Is the endorsement immediately withdrawn, or the candidate is given anything to improve on, or what is the next course of action?
So at the 12-month point, we would say, I mean, we are here to help. We're not the police, we're not going to chase people, and we are here to help. So if things have changed within the business, our process is, we would send you out a form at the 12-month point for the applicant to complete, to say how things are going. Have they registered the company? Have they implemented the technology? If it is a technology business, are they selling anything? Have they got an accountant engaged? What's happening? So you've got the opportunity to tell us what's happening. If things are not going well, tell us why, and we'll look to try and help you as best we can. We also then have a separate support program that's optional, but there is a fee to that for us helping you on that basis. But let's assume you're not taking that help at the moment. If we would then send you some feedback on saying, well, okay, this is where you are, you're slightly behind you're behind where you said you would be in the plan, but there's an action plan over the next 12 months to get back on track. And then at the 24-month point, we would review that again with you. Now, what I would say is that at the 12-month point, if you're behind, okay, most people are. The important thing is, what's the plan to get back on track? At the 24-month point, let's say sales are still at zero, you've had some difficulties in implementing the technical platform, or suppliers let you down, or your co-founders left, or something's happened like that. That becomes a little more serious, because you've then got to consider at the 36-month point, you're going to be applying for another endorsement, for a continuation endorsement probably. So you need to be in a position to have made significant progress against that plan at that 3-year point.
Okay, and is there any fee for these contact point meetings?
Yes, the fees, it's £500 plus VAT for each checkpoint. So that's £1,000 in total. So what happens is, just prior to at the 12-month point, we would send you out an invoice for both checkpoints. So that will be £1,000 plus VAT.
Okay, so this is like minimum meetings, contact point meetings are required are two, but it can be more depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, typically that's all. Those are the only mandatory checkpoints. So if someone didn't want any help from us which would obviously cost an additional fee, if they simply wanted to keep it at those two checkpoints, that's £1,000. That's all they have to pay. They don't have to pay any more than that. What they do have to pay then is at the 3-year point, they would have to make an application for a further endorsement, which will be a further £1,000.
Okay, so
Whether
the help
that's
that you are saying that the Innovator International will help the applicants as well in order to ensure that they are complying with their business plan. So that is basically this service is available to them for the next 3 years until they are endorsed by the Innovator International. So like anytime they are stuck in between, they can feel free to contact Innovator International and get a review on their performance.
Absolutely, and that can be in the form of having a regular meeting with someone on a monthly basis and working together in terms of putting an action plan together and getting all sorts of help that we can provide, and it is quite extensive. Or if they didn't want that monthly interaction, they can have a one-off session with an expert. So, for example, if they're not very good at sales or if they're struggling with sales, we could get them a 1-hour session on sales. If they're struggling with finance, we can help them with finance, or it could be recruitment. On any subject like that, they could have a one-off session without a commitment.
More questions coming in from the participants. Do you have some time? Is it okay if I put them before you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So the questions that most people are asking is like, is there a minimum required technology readiness level that innovators should be looking at?
Sorry, do you mean in terms of a TRL,
Oh,
a
yeah,
technology?
yeah.
Okay. There isn't, is the short answer. But clearly, the further that you are along the TRL, the better it is. So my recommendation would be, if you've got an idea and you're developing that idea, and let's say you're not yet at the MVP stage, what is really important that you do have at the point of application is some form of customer validation. Because if you've got an idea, and it might be a very novel idea, might be a very good idea, but if there's no one out there willing to buy it, then you've got a bit of a problem. So we're not saying you've got to provide, letters of intent or customer orders. We're not saying that, but you do need some customer validation. So, and the best way to do that is to speak to people whose problem you are solving, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and always ask the question, well, okay, if I can solve this problem for you, how much would you pay for it?
Exactly.
And the more information you can provide along those lines, the better that is.
All right. So thank you on that. And regarding the funds requirements, that is a bit of confusion over here. Like whatever the funds required are, you have made it clear that £50,000 is not a very strict requirement. The funds required depends on your business plan. So is it something that the applicant or applicants should have these funds available with 24 hours access in their bank accounts? Because what I do get to hear quite a lot is many applicants do say to me that they are in talks with the bank or some lender and they will be approved a loan in the short run, which might be during some time at the endorsement process. So is it a strict requirement that they should have the funds already available, or if it is coming from a third party or from a loan, that is also acceptable?
That's acceptable, but we would need to see that those funds are actually available. So, for example, if someone is in the process of applying for a loan, my recommendation would be wait until that loan has been approved and you have those funds available. What we do get, which is quite common, is that applicants can have access to funds on the basis of them receiving an endorsement.
Oh,
So that's fine as long as we have a letter of commitment. So, for example, that could be from an angel investor that says, okay, if you receive the endorsement, I will commit £20,000 towards the development of your project. So we just have to have that written confirmation from that investor, to
yeah.
validate that.
Yeah, so if someone is getting a loan or being invested from a third party, then obviously I think that needs to be reflected in the business plan as well. That if the loan
Yeah,
is specifically for the business purpose, how they're going to pay it back, how they're going to survive while paying the loan repayments, right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, okay, well, I think that is these are the questions that we have for today. So, thank you very much again for attending. And well, time has just passed really quickly. I can see on the timer that we are it's 57 minutes since we are in this meeting. Well, so yeah, thank you everyone for participating, and thank you very much, Mr. Nick, for attending this webinar again. I'm truly thankful to you. You accepted it at such a short notice. The experience that you have shared today, the insights that you have shared today is really helpful for all the participants, those who are attending today. So thank you very much. It's really appreciated, and I look forward to meeting you soon.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and good luck to everyone out there.